Welcome to Impartial Points and our guide to the amendment process contained in the U.S. Constitution. The United States Constitution is a cornerstone of the nation's government and laws, designed to endure through time while allowing for necessary changes and including a clear process for making the changes. These changes, known as amendments, reflect the evolving needs and values of the country. The amendment process, outlined in Article 5 of the Constitution, is deliberately rigorous to ensure stability and a wide consensus while allowing for adaptability. Here, we'll dive into the details of how the Constitution can be amended, the steps involved, how ratification works, and why the process can take varying amounts of time. So, let's get started. The two stages, proposal and ratification. The amendment process involves two primary stages, proposal and ratification. Each stage requires a high level of consensus, emphasizing the seriousness of altering the nation's foundational document and making the amendment process difficult to complete. Step 1. Proposal. There are two ways an amendment can be proposed. By Congress. This is the most common method. An amendment must first gain approval by a 2/3 majority vote in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. The 2/3 requirement means that even widespread public support for an amendment may not guarantee its success. Bipartisan cooperation is almost always essential. Given the sharp partisan divide that currently exists in the United States, it's unlikely that an even remotely controversial amendment would make it through this step of the process. By a constitutional convention. If 2/3 of state legislatures, currently 34 out of 50, formally request it, Congress must call a constitutional convention. This method has never been used, largely due to concerns about the potential for such a convention to propose sweeping changes beyond the original intent. While Congress has proposed all 27 existing amendments, the option of a convention remains available and could theoretically be invoked for significant national issues. Once Congress successfully proposes an amendment, current U.S. law says the person running the National Archives has the responsibility to notify the states. At different points in history, the Secretary of State and the Government Services Administrator have held the responsibility. Though historically, many states haven't waited for formal notification to act. Step 2. Ratification. Once an amendment is successfully proposed, it moves to the ratification phase. Ratification ensures that the states, representing the people, have a say in the amendment process. There are two methods for ratification. Approval by state legislatures. 3/4 of the state legislatures, currently 38 out of 50, must approve the proposed amendment. Again, the sharp partisan divide in the United States ensures that only broadly supported amendments can be passed. At this time, neither major party has control of enough state legislatures to pass an amendment without the other party's assistance. This method has been used for 26 of the 27 amendments. Approval by state conventions. In this process, specially convened conventions within each state vote on the amendment. This method was used only once, for the 21st Amendment, which repealed prohibition. Congress chose this method because it allowed for a more direct expression of public opinion. Congress determines which method of ratification will be used when it proposes an amendment. Certification and adoption. After ratification by the required number of states, the proposed amendment becomes part of the Constitution. The head of the National Archives, the official responsible for maintaining government records, certifies the amendment's adoption. This formal step confirms that the amendment is now legally binding. But this step isn't actually mentioned in the Constitution. The President of the United States is not required to sign an amendment and cannot veto one. The President has no formal role in the amendment process. Some presidents have taken on ceremonial or informal roles, but the Constitution completely excludes them from any formal role. Deadlines and timeframes. Amendments do not have to be ratified within a specific timeframe unless Congress sets a deadline, which it often does. Deadlines are typically included in the amendment's text or accompanying legislation and are usually set at 7 years. However, this is not a constitutional requirement. Fast ratifications. Some amendments, such as the 26th Amendment lowering the voting age to 18, have been ratified in less than 4 months, spurred by widespread public and political support. Slow ratifications. Others, like the 27th Amendment, took far longer. Originally proposed in 1789, it wasn't ratified until 1992, a period of over 200 years. Congress can also extend deadlines or reconsider amendments after a deadline has passed, as seen in recent debates over the Equal Rights Amendment. Challenges in amending the Constitution. The difficulty of amending the Constitution is intentional. The framers of the Constitution wanted to create a process that balanced adaptability with stability, preventing hasty or poorly considered changes. High thresholds for consensus. The two-thirds majority in Congress and three-fourths approval by states ensure that amendments reflect broad national agreement. Partisan divides. In today's polarized political environment, achieving such supermajorities is increasingly challenging, making the amendment process slower and more difficult. Public opinion. Amendments often require strong grassroots support to succeed. Without widespread public demand, efforts to propose or ratify amendments are likely to falter. Historical context, successful amendments. Despite the challenges, the amendment process has been successful in addressing critical issues over time. Key examples include the Bill of Rights, 1791. The first 10 amendments were ratified just a few years after the Constitution was adopted, ensuring protections for individual liberties. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, 1865 to 1870. These Reconstruction Amendments abolished slavery, granted citizenship to all born in the U.S., and protected voting rights regardless of race. The 19th Amendment, 1920, granted women the right to vote, reflecting decades of activism and shifting societal norms. Each of these amendments reflects the nation's ability to adapt to societal changes while adhering to a rigorous process. Impartial Points has a video going over the entire Constitution and all of the amendments. Unsuccessful amendments. Not all proposed amendments succeed. Over 11,000 amendments have been introduced in Congress since 1789, but only 27 have been ratified. Some notable failures include an amendment that would have prohibited anyone involved in dueling from holding federal office, an amendment to abolish the Senate and create a unicameral legislature. It was introduced by Victor Berger, the first socialist to enter Congress. A maximum wage amendment was suggested twice in American history, most recently by FDR in 1942. He wanted to cap annual income at $25,000, which today would have the purchasing power of about $484,000. Amendments to allow school prayer have been attempted at least 8 times. They have all failed to gain broad support. An amendment to repeal the 22nd Amendment, which would remove term limits for presidents. It has been supported by numerous presidents and has always failed to gain support. Why the process matters. The amendment process is more than just a legal procedure. It's a reflection of the values and priorities of the United States. By requiring broad consensus, the process ensures that amendments are deliberate, meaningful, and representative of the will of the people. At the same time, the difficulty of amending the Constitution has led to debates about whether the process is too restrictive. Some argue that it should be easier to adapt the document to modern challenges, while others believe the current system provides necessary safeguards against impulsive changes. Summary. The ability to amend the Constitution is a cornerstone of American democracy. It provides a way to address the nation's most pressing issues while maintaining the integrity of its foundational principles. By understanding the amendment process, we gain insight into the balance of flexibility and stability that defines the U.S. system of government. Whether it takes months or centuries, each amendment represents the enduring dialogue between the past, present, and future of the United States. It's a conversation that will continue to occur as long as the United States exists. We hope you found this discussion informative and insightful. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world of information at your fingertips. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Join us next time on Impartial Points.